Hello, yellers! Welcome back to Why Am I Yelling? Musings from a middle-aged menopausal mom, where the hormones are high, the patience is low, and the opinions, oh, they are loud and proud, baby. I'm your host, Krista Rizzo, professional certified coach, chaos coordinator, and your midlife hype woman. And today, we are diving into a topic that hits close to home for so many of us, and that is starting over at age 40 or 50 or 90 gazillion. This topic, when I just, spoke those words, I'm reminded of a woman by the name of Iris Apfel. And if you are into pop culture, into the fashion scene, into any of those things, you know that Iris started her career in textiles and manufacturing, and she was a businesswoman and married and raised her family. Her husband passed away, and she became a fashion icon. She was known for her bright, flamboyant, vibrant style, big glasses. She had white hair and wore, makeup and lipstick and big chunky jewels. She signed a modeling contract at the age of 97 years old with IMG Models. She recently passed away earlier this year at the age of 102. And she was famously spoke about how she had reinvented herself throughout her years. So don't think for 1 minute that life has to stick to the script that we wrote for ourselves way back when we were younger. In our teens and our 20s, I think something that I used to like to do. I don't know where it is. I think my mom actually threw out all my old yearbooks and my memory books from high school. I have photo albums, but I don't have the actual yearbooks, which really just breaks my heart. But I had a memory book, a senior memory book that you would stick, ticket stubs in, and your graduation tassel and all that stuff was in there. And mine was like fat and had all kinds of memorabilia in it. But there were questions in there, and it was like, where do you think you're going to be in 5 years? What kind of car are you going to be driving, and all that kind of stuff. And we had these ideas and these thoughts and these plans for ourselves when we're much younger, when we're teenagers or, in college or even in our early 20s and early 30s. We feel like we have to stick to this script. And a lot of times that was planned out for us. Right? I know my mother always said, you go to school, you get married, you have children, you get a job, you take care of everybody, and you do all these things. And that was what her mother did, and my father's mother did. So you're just kind of following the plan, the blueprint that was set forth from others. But really, we don't have to do that. And thank God for that. Because there are so many other things that we have happening in our lives that we should be celebrating and expanding on, right? So think about, are you kidding me moments in your life that you've had since you were younger till now? And in your jobs or in your relationships or in your things, and you take a step back and you're like, what the fuck just happened, right? Are you kidding me? This is what just happened, right? So some potential scenarios for you that you might be familiar with is you wake up one day and you recognize that your marriage has ended, or your kids are grown and they don't need you in the same way. And I think a lot of us that listen to this podcast or in this stage of our lives, we're at that stage with our kids, right? I have an older one who is a junior in college, who's going to be a junior in college in 2 weeks. And my little guy is still in middle school. So I'm kind of still in it, but he doesn't need me the same way as he did even a year or two ago, right? So that's a familiar feeling for a lot of us. The job you may have given many, many years or decades to either has come to an end, or you have realized that you're done. Right? It's sucking your soul dry. Or maybe you have changed, right? We oftentimes don't give ourselves credit for changing or having our values shift or outgrowing the old version of the life that we thought was the life that we wanted. And we are, seeing things and experiencing things personally and professionally and, intimately and within our friend group or our social networks that don't feel like they belong anymore. Does this sound familiar to you? Because I think we've all been there at some point. And we might be there at multiple points in our life, right? Midlife reinvention isn't a dramatic movie montage with, yoga retreats and cabana boys serving drinks poolside. Although when I was sitting at my pool, sometimes I do wish that we had that. More often it starts quietly with a gut feeling that you have that it's saying to you, this isn't working anymore. Whether it's, your relationship or your job or a friend situation or even your parenting. You get the feeling or you understand that there's more waiting for you. There's more, even if you don't know what it is, right? And so I think it's really important to talk about reinvention. I have talked about it for many years in my coaching. And I like to talk about it with women, especially menopausal women or women who are in this stage of our lives, this season of our lives, because it can feel scary. Right? Why does reinvention feel so scary? It's because we don't plan for it. You don't plan for yourself to change. You don't plan for a relationship to end. You don't plan for a job to end. You don't plan for these things. They just kind of creep up on you. I remember, again, going back to high school, when I was in high school, most of my friends' parents were married, had been married for many, many years. And I had one friend who, when we were seniors in high school, after 25 years, her parents decided to split up and get divorced. And it rocked everybody. It rocked all of our families. It rocked our friend group. It was just something that was really unexpected. And we all kind of looked around as kids, but also our parents kind of looked around and they could see how that could happen at that age in their lives. And we couldn't see it as kids, right? We didn't understand that. But now, as adults, we are recognizing that while we have been conditioned to believe that life should be settled by now, which is a crazy rule. You know me, I wear that t-shirt, break the rules. That's not really the truth, right? Our lives are always going to be a roller coaster, always going to be topsy-turvy, upside down and left and right, because every day is different and every experience is different and everyone's situations are different and they can change at the drop of a hat, right? We live in this space where we're conditioned to believe that we were settled. We don't want to disappoint anyone, right? Especially the people around us who benefit from us staying in our space, staying in our lane, right? We're staying quiet, we're staying small, we're not using our voices and speaking with our whole chest, right? We've invested years into building the life that we have, into our careers, our marriages, our relationships, our homes. And it feels potentially wasteful to walk away from one of or all of those things, right? So that is where you get the feeling of being stuck, right? Not being able to make change because you're afraid to change, to do the change, to like step into your power and to ignite that change and say, you know what, maybe I need some help, right? Help is my favorite 4-letter word. Can't is my least favorite 4-letter word, just FYI, so you know that. Being stuck is not a good enough reason to stay where you are. Here's the thing. Here's your secret midlife superpower. I'm just going to tell you what it is, right? There's the truth that nobody told us in our 20s is that midlife is a very powerful time for us, right? There's a lot of stuff that we have survived. Whether it's heartbreak or burnout or tantrums from our kids or layoffs from our jobs or failings from our adults or global pandemics, or if you're me, terrorist attacks on 9/11 or a bad haircut or a challenging relationship, it all kind of falls into like they all kind of they stack up all of these things that we've survived. If you're a Gen Xer, you survived basically raising yourself when you were probably from the age of 9 until now, right? I mean, raise your hand if you are one of those people who, you know, had the keys to the house when you were 10 years old because both your parents worked, and you were doing the laundry and babysitting your younger siblings. And I mean, that's me. And it's just about every friend that I know, right? We have earned our wisdom and our laugh lines that go along with them. So why not use that energy and that experience to create something new? And it doesn't have to be, burning your life down, unless, of course, you want to. And, I support decisions that are made in your best interest. But it really just means checking in. It's checking in with asking yourself, what do I really want? What do I want now in this moment for me? It doesn't have to be about a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan or a 20-year plan, because guess what? If COVID taught us anything, those kinds of long-term plans can get wrecked in a matter of minutes, right? Who do I want to become next? What do I want now? Who do I want to become next? And then taking the steps to move toward that direction. I was thinking about, when I was pulling this episode together with this topic and stuff, I started thinking about reinvention and what it means. And I was 41 years old when I made the decision to leave my corporate job and start something for myself. And I didn't even know I was going to start something for myself when I was actually making the decision to leave. I was in a very toxic work environment. I had been with the company I was with for a really, really long time. I was questioning my self-worth because there was just stuff going on that, was hurtful and upsetting, and I was drowning in being a mom to 2 young kids and having all the responsibilities and doing all the things. And I had this belief that most women do of our age, that I had to do it all without asking for help, because I was led to believe that asking for help was a weakness, not a strength, which it is. It is a strength. And I didn't know how to ask for help in a big way when it came to wanting to make a career switch and, addressing being helped in my marriage and my relationships, and, talking about my friendships and what they actually meant, and, what their value was to me. And so when I had my breakdown on my bedroom floor on my 13th wedding anniversary, that's a different story for a different day, but that was the day that I kind of made the decision, I have to do something to change. This isn't working for me anymore. And it wasn't my marriage. It wasn't my kids. It was the fact that I had been going through this stuff at work that I didn't feel like I could tell anybody about, because I didn't want anybody to feel like, or to think that, perceive that I was weak, that I couldn't figure it out on my own, that I didn't have it all under control, that I wasn't superwoman or super mom, or, all the things that we are led to believe as women, especially as mothers and as career women, that we have to carry the burden on our shoulders all by ourselves. And we absolutely do not have to do that. And that's where rebirth happens. Because when you understand that you have the power to ask for help and to say, you know what, I can't be the one to do all the things all the time. I'm going to need you to step in and help me do these things. Yeah, okay, that's how this works. And I'm going to need to explore new, professional avenues for myself, because this one is draining everything that I have. And I, am mentally unsound and physically unsound and emotionally unsound. And it was just a really hard place to be. And that now is, I'm looking at the date, it's August 1st. Happy birthday to my bestie, Amy, by the way. Sidebar. Happy birthday. I love you so much. But it's August 1st, and it was the the spring of 2024, when I made the decision to leave and uh, move on with something else, and it was August of 2014, not 2024, 2014, 11 years ago, that I actually left the corporate world. I was 41 years old. Do the math. So, you know, it was a big leap that I made for myself, for my personal health, but also for the health of what turned out to be my marriage and, you know, my friendships and all the things, because I needed to be able to focus on supporting those things as well as supporting my career. And that's kind of how I met coaching. I met coaching because I was working with a career coach who was helping me kind of map my next move and move on to my next path and find the next company that I was going to go work for. And I had started interviewing with a lot of really wonderful companies out there, and nothing was floating my boat. I, had interviews and I had potential job offers and all this stuff going on, and I didn't want to do any of it. And the career coach I was working with had said to me specifically, she said, you've spent all these months. I took a month off, and then I, went back and started doing, career mapping and taking all kinds of assessments and trying to figure out where I was going to fit in next in my next move in my next season of my life. And when you're 41, you don't think you're in midlife, but in real life, you are in midlife, right? So I guess the beginning of my midlife. And she said to me, she was like, you're taking all these assessments, and everything that you're talking about that you love to do is guiding you toward a role in coaching or therapy or some kind of role where you're helping other people expand and enhance their own lives. And that's when I started to explore the idea of getting certified as a life coach and maybe starting my own thing. And that is kind of when Why Am I Yelling was born as a business. I went back to school, I got certified, I, decided I wanted to be a parenting coach in the beginning. I was given the opportunity to be at an expo, a baby expo next to a Babies R Us booth, and started talking to the person who was running that booth at the expo, and they asked me if I wanted to do coaching sessions inside of Babies R Us stores in New York City, and so I started doing those. And that's how I started building up my client list and started doing my speaking, because I was doing workshops and seminars in Babies R Us stores. For those of you who remember what Babies R Us stores are, because I don't think they exist anymore. They're like, they're baby stores. You go in and you do your baby registry and you walk around pregnant. You dream about all the wonderful things that you want for your children, and you create all the things that you want to have for your baby shower and all that stuff. And I would meet the moms and the dads once a week in different locations throughout New York City, and I would talk about parenting and relationships during parenting and raising children, because at that time my kids were probably 8 and 2 or 9 and 3, and so I kind of had a handle on the baby situation and the toddler and the school kid age phases, and that kind of catapulted me into creating partnerships with Today's Parenting Group and being featured in different outlets and places. And so for me, it was an unexpected path, and it was one that worked out, fortunately, and took me on this journey to where I am now. And in this 10 years that I've been doing this arc of this 10 years, I'm no longer just a parenting coach. I can talk about parenting. I now have a 20-year-old. I've got a lot more parenting experience under my belt. I can talk about relationships. I have a lot more relationship experience under my belt with my 24-year marriage and my 28-year relationship with my husband. And my friendships. I wished my bestie a happy birthday this morning. She and I have been friends since we were 13 years old. And I talk to her just about every single day. And our kids are super tight. And I think there's something to be said for that. So that coaching became a lot of different things. And then I started talking during COVID about, mindset and burnout and surviving burnout, because it was something that I had survived, and asking for help and moving through grief. Because during COVID, we all started grieving for things that we didn't know we were losing: our time and our experiences and all the other things that we had going on, not to mention health and lives and things like that. And so this arc that I've been reinventing myself the entire 10 years, right? I got certified in grief coaching because I wanted to be able to lean into those experiences, especially since my dad, my mom, and my brother all passed away within 5 years of each other. Very short time spans, right? And at very young ages. And so here I am now in this other season of my life, midlife, where I was 10 years ago at the beginning of it, I guess, and I'm now in it in my early 50s. And I'm constantly thinking about ways I can learn and grow and continue to reinvent what I'm doing for you guys, right? Help you guys navigate better through your menopausal midlife mom stages, or your marriages, or your relationships, or all the things, right? And when you think about the things that we have reinvented for ourselves after, turning midlife, after turning 40, think about some of the things, right? We've quit our jobs, right? We have ended marriages and started, dating and starting new relationships. We have moved. We lived in New York City full time for 100 million years. And then when COVID happened, we came up to our house in Connecticut, and we're still here 5 years later. That was never the game plan. It was a decision we made that was the best decision for our family at the time. And I don't regret that decision. I do miss a lot of things about, living full time in the city, but I also recognize that I have a lot of really wonderful things. It's my dog. Really wonderful things happening here, and beautiful friends, and really great experiences that we've had for the last 13 years here, because we bought our house here 13 years ago. And, launching businesses, and, not being afraid to step into our power and say the words, I am this, I am that, I don't agree with this. I am inspired by women every day on the interwebs, where I see you, moving through your life and claiming yourself for, who you are, without shame, without apology, without explanation for, having to back it up. You don't have to back it up. If it's what you want, that's enough. It is wildly inspiring to see that happening, to see this shift in this idea that we had this belief at the beginning of this conversation that we had to have everything mapped out by, decade. In my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, my 50s, my 60s, as a retirement. That's not how this works anymore. Now it's all about how you feel and what you want and what you see out there and all the opportunities that are available to you, because there are a lot. There are a lot of opportunities that are available to us out there. We just have to figure out how to get them. We just have to figure out how to use our brains and ask for help and accept that we are as wildly inspiring and powerful as we really are in real life. Right? So think about a friend that inspires you, who has taken a leap of faith to do something completely different than what they ever thought they would be doing. Or look at your relationship and look at how it has shifted and how you have grown, either apart or together, as you have grown up with your significant other, your life partner, your spouse, whatever we're calling them these days. Look at your friendships. Look at your relationships with your parents, right? Mine changed drastically as I got older. There were a lot of conflicting beliefs and things that, my parents were very traditional and my mom was like, you gotta, get married and have babies and that's it. And I was like, no. I want to travel and I want this and I want that. And it was all like a foreign language to her, because that's not what she did. and you just do what your people did before you. And as I have children now, I encourage them to do things that I haven't done yet. Get out there, go here, move there, do this, have this experience. Don't say no, say yes to everything. I have a good friend right now who's in her yes phase. She's saying yes to everything, and I love it. Right, Shonda Rhimes wrote that book. Say yes. What's the worst that could happen? You leave early, you go home, you had a bad time, but you had the experience and you learned from it. And maybe you met somebody new, or you tasted a new food or had a new drink or whatever it was. Be wildly inspiring every single day. Try something new, learn something new. Embrace who you are, especially in this beautiful season that you're in. Reinvention doesn't have to be flashy. It just has to be yours. And maybe it is a career shift. Maybe it's learning to say no without feeling guilty, right? We're going to probably go into a very deep conversation about mom guilt in one of these upcoming episodes. Maybe it's prioritizing yourself, because what did I say? I think in our last episode, the single most important relationship you're ever going to have is the one that you have with yourself. So finding your joy and prioritizing that, and not feeling guilty or explaining away why you're doing it. Don't wait for permission. Give yourself the permission that you need. Nobody is here to tell you that you can do something. I give you permission to do this. Who are you asking permission from? You. You're asking permission from you. Don't wait for the kids to be grown up for a perfect moment. There is no such thing as perfect. Listen to me when I tell you that. Perfection does not exist. We humans are very, very guilty of setting these expectations that we have of ourselves, of our lives, of our careers, all the way up here. And when we don't hit them, we get down on ourselves. The self-deprecation, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I never should have tried this, all the things. And then we wait for a sign from the universe to tell us that it's time for us to do this. You are the actual sign. This episode is the sign. This one. I'm telling you it's okay. You need permission? Permission granted. I don't have my magic wand. Do it. Don't be afraid. It doesn't matter if it's messy, right? The greatest things come from mess. They come from the point in your life where you have just experienced something that, a heartache or something that literally changed you in the matter of moments. It doesn't have to be big. Start small, but start. Don't go to bed at night wishing you had done something differently. Don't have I said this at my dad's funeral. Don't have the same year 75 times and call it a life. Right? Don't live the same year 75 times and call it a life. Add to those years. Add to what happens during those years. Change up what happens during those years. Because guess what? Life at 40, 50, 60, it's not the end. We are just beginning. We are recognizing that we don't have to please everybody all the time. And we can start living out loud and do it in a way that is respectful and smart and fun and engaging. And if there's anybody that doesn't like it, you can tell them to turn down the volume, because you have earned your right to yell. And yelling is good, because we yell for all the good things in our lives at Why Am I Yelling? So, what did we learn today? We learned that we have the power, that we are sitting in the most powerful stage of our lives as midlife, middle-aged menopausal moms in our midlife. And we are doing it on our own terms. So figure out what your terms are and come to terms with those terms. And then take steps toward the things that you want to do with whomever you want to do them. That's today's episode. It is August 1st, as I mentioned, my best friend Amy's birthday. It is a Friday. I like to record these on Fridays, it seems. And what's dinner tonight, yellers? We are actually going to the theater. We live in the northwest corner of Connecticut, where we are blessed to have some really great local regional theaters. We're not far from New York City, so we have a lot of, especially summer theater, summer stock, all that stuff. So we try to go to the theater as often as we can. So tonight we're seeing Annie, the musical, Little Orphan Annie, who just so happens that my good friend's dad was the composer, the late Charles Strauss. So we're super excited to go see that this evening. So dinner probably is takeout or breakfast for dinner or something on the go. We'll see. But thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and all the places. Listen to us on Spotify, on Apple, and all the things. Follow me on Instagram at WhyAmIYellingPod. Slide into the DMs. I will have a website up soon where you can actually send in a form, like send in a form to submit for things that you want to hear on this podcast, me talk about, and maybe send me some guest ideas. I'm recording with my first guest next week. We have a few other guests lined up to start recording with. So that's exciting. Lots of really great things. So until next time, yell loud, yell proud, be bold, and don't let anyone dull your damn sparkle. I love you. We'll see you soon.